we will inform you about what the media is hiding about the personality of Turkish President Tayyip Recep Erdogan. Part 4. Erdogan's administration maintains strong ties with the Somali government. During the drought of 2011, Erdogan's government contributed over $201 million to humanitarian relief efforts in the impacted parts of Somalia. Following a greatly improved security situation in Mogadishu in mid-2011, the Turkish government also reopened its foreign embassy with the intention of more effectively assisting in the post-conflict development process. It was among the first foreign governments to resume formal diplomatic relations with Somalia after the civil war. In May 2010, the Turkish and Somali governments signed a military training agreement in keeping with the provisions outlined in the Djibouti peace process. Turkish Airlines became the first long-distance international commercial airline in 2 decades to resume flights to and from Mogadishu's Aden Ad International Airport. Turkey also launched various development and infrastructure projects in Somalia, including building several hospitals and helping renovate the National Assembly building. 2013 Gezi Park protests against the perceived authoritarianism of Erdogan and his policy, starting from a small sit-in Istanbul in defense of a city park. After the police's intense reaction with tear gas, the protests grew each day. Faced by the largest mass protest in a decade, Erdogan made this controversial remark in a televised speech: "The police were there yesterday, they are there today, and they will be there tomorrow." After weeks of clashes in the streets of Istanbul, his government at first apologized to the protesters and called for a plebiscite, but then ordered a crackdown on the protesters. Erdogan took the oath of office on the 28th of August 2014 and became the 12th president of Turkey. He administered the new Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu's oath on the 29th of August. When asked about his lower-than-expected 51.79% share of the vote, he allegedly responded, "There were even those who did not like the prophet. I, however, won 52%. Assuming the role of president, Erdogan was criticized for openly stating that he would not maintain the tradition of presidential neutrality. Erdogan has also stated his intention to pursue a more active role as president, such as utilizing the president's rarely used cabinet calling powers. The political opposition has argued that Erdogan will continue to pursue his own political agenda, controlling the government, while his new Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu would be docile and submissive. Furthermore, the domination of loyal Erdogan supporters in Davutoglu's cabinet fueled speculation that Erdogan intended to exercise substantial control over the government. On the 1st of July 2014, Erdogan was named the AKP's presidential candidate in the Turkish presidential election. His candidacy was announced by the deputy president of the AKP, Mehmet Ali Sağ. Erdogan made a speech after the announcement and used the Erdogan logo for the first time. The logo was criticized because it was very similar to the logo that U.S. President Barack Obama used in the 2008 presidential election. Erdogan was elected as the president of Turkey in the first round of the election with 51.79% of the vote, obviating the need for a runoff by winning over 50%. The joint candidate of the CHP, MHP, and 13 other opposition parties, former Organization of Islamic Cooperation General Secretary Ekmelen Inaysanoglu, won 38.44% of the vote. The pro-Kurdish HDP candidate Selahattin Demirtas won 9.76%. The 2018 Turkish presidential election took place as part of the 2018 general election, alongside parliamentary elections on the same day. Following the approval of constitutional changes in a referendum held in 2017, the elected president will be both the head of state and head of government of Turkey, taking over the latter role from the to-be-abolished office of the prime minister. Incumbent President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared his candidacy for the People's Alliance on the 27th of April 2018. Erdogan's main opposition, the Republican People's Party, nominated Muharrem İnce, a member of the parliament known for his combative opposition and spirited speeches against Erdogan. Besides these candidates, Meral Akşener, the founder and leader of Good Party, Temel Karamollaoglu, the leader of the Felicity Party, and Dogu Perinçek, the leader of the Patriotic Party, have announced their candidacies and collected the 100,000 signatures required for nomination. The alliance which Erdogan was candidate for won 52.59% of the popular vote. For the presidential election 2023, his candidacy is in dispute as he has launched his campaign in June 2022, but the opposition contends a third presidential term would violate the constitution. In April 2017, a constitutional referendum was held, where the voters in Turkey approved a set of 18 proposed amendments to the Constitution of Turkey. The amendments included the replacement of the existing parliamentary system with a presidential system, The post of prime minister would be abolished, and the presidency would become an executive post vested with broad executive powers. The parliament seats would be increased from 550 to 600, and the age of candidacy to the parliament was lowered from 25 to 18. The referendum also called for changes to the Supreme Board of Judges and Prosecutors. In the 2019 local elections, the ruling party AKP lost control of Istanbul and Ankara for the first time in 25 years, as well as 5 of Turkey's 6 largest cities. The loss has been widely attributed to Erdogan's mismanagement of the Turkish economic crisis, rising authoritarianism, as well as the alleged government inaction on the Syrian refugee crisis. Soon after the elections, Supreme Electoral Council of Turkey ordered a re-election in Istanbul, cancelling Ekrem İmamoğlu's mayoral certificate. The decision led to a significant decrease of Erdogan's and AKP's popularity, and his party lost the elections again in June with a greater margin. The result was seen as a huge blow to Erdogan, who had once said that if his party lost Istanbul, we would lose Turkey. The opposition's victory was characterized as the beginning of the end for Erdogan, with international commentators calling the rerun a huge government miscalculation that led to a potential İmamoğlu candidacy in the next scheduled presidential election. It is suspected that the scale of the government's defeat could provoke a cabinet reshuffle and early general elections, currently scheduled for June 2023. The New Zealand and Australian governments and opposition CHP party have criticized Erdogan after he repeatedly showed video taken by the Christchurch mosque shooter to his supporters at campaign rallies for the 31st of March local elections, and said Australians and New Zealanders who came to Turkey with anti-Muslim sentiments would be sent back in coffins like their grandfathers at Gallipoli. Erdogan has also received criticism for the construction of a new official residence called the Presidential Complex, which takes up approximately 50 acres of Ataturk Forest Farm in Ankara. Since the AOC is protected land, several court orders were issued to halt the construction of the new palace, though building work went on nonetheless. The opposition described the move as a clear disregard for the rule of law. The project was subject to heavy criticism, and allegations were made of corruption during the construction process, wildlife destruction, and the complete obliteration of the zoo in the AOC in order to make way for the new compound. The fact that the palace is technically illegal has led to it being branded as the Kakaksere, the word kakak in Turkish meaning illegal. Aksere was originally designed as a new office for the prime minister. However, upon assuming the presidency, Erdogan announced that the palace would become the new presidential palace, while the Kankaya mansion will be used by the prime minister instead. The move was seen as a historic change since the Kankaya mansion had been used as the iconic office of the presidency ever since its inception. The presidential complex has almost 1,000 rooms and cost $350 million, leading to huge criticism at a time when mining accidents and workers' rights had been dominating the agenda. On the 29th of October 2014, Erdogan was due to hold a Republic Day reception in the new palace to commemorate the 91st anniversary of the Republic of Turkey and to officially inaugurate the presidential palace. However, after most invited participants announced that they would boycott the event and a mining accident occurred in the district of Ermenek in Karaman, the reception was cancelled. President Erdogan and his government continue to press for court action against the remaining free press in Turkey. The latest newspaper that has been seized is Zaman, in March 2016. After the seizure, Morton Abramovitz and Eric Edelman, former U.S. ambassadors to Turkey, condemned President Erdogan's actions in an opinion piece published by The Washington Post. Clearly, democracy cannot flourish under Erdogan now. The overall pace of reforms in Turkey has not only slowed down but in some key areas, such as freedom of expression and the independence of the judiciary, there has been a regression, which is particularly worrying, Rapporteur Kati Piri said in April 2016. After the European Parliament passed its annual progress report on Turkey. On the 22nd of June 2016, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said that he considered himself successful in destroying Turkish civil groups working against the state, a conclusion that had been confirmed some days earlier by Sedat Lassiner, professor of international relations and rector of the Çanakkale Ansiçkizmart University. Outlawing unarmed and peaceful opposition, sentencing people to unfair punishment under erroneous terror accusations will feed genuine terrorism in Erdogan's Turkey. Guns and violence will become the sole alternative for legally expressing free thought. After the coup attempt, over 200 journalists were arrested and over 120 media outlets were closed. Cumhuriyet journalists were detained in November 2016 after a long-standing crackdown on the newspaper. Subsequently, Reporters Without Borders called Erdogan an enemy of press freedom and said that he hides his aggressive dictatorship under a veneer of democracy. In April 2017, Turkey blocked all access to Wikipedia over a content dispute. The Turkish government lifted a 2.5-year ban on Wikipedia on the 15th of January 2020, restoring access to the online encyclopedia a month after Turkey's top court ruled that blocking Wikipedia was unconstitutional. On the 1st of July 2020, in a statement made to his party members, Erdogan announced that the government would introduce new measures and regulations to control or shut down social media platforms such as YouTube, Twitter, and Netflix. Through these new measures, each company would be required to appoint an official representative in the country to respond to legal concerns. The decision comes after a number of Twitter users insulted his daughter Esra after she welcomed her fourth child. On the 20th of July 2016, President Erdogan declared the state of emergency, citing the coup d'etat attempt as justification. It was first scheduled to last 3 months. The Turkish parliament approved this measure. The state of emergency was later continuously extended until 2018 amidst the ongoing 2016 Turkish purges, including comprehensive purges of independent media and detention of tens of thousands of Turkish citizens politically opposed to Erdogan. More than 50,000 people have been arrested and over 160,000 fired from their jobs by March 2018. In August 2016, Erdogan began rounding up journalists who had been publishing or who were about to publish articles questioning corruption within the Erdogan administration and incarcerating them. The number of Turkish journalists jailed by Turkey is higher than any other country, including all of those journalists currently jailed in North Korea, Cuba, Russia, and China combined. In the wake of the coup attempt of July 2016, the Erdogan administration began rounding up tens of thousands of individuals, both from within the government and from the public sector, and incarcerating them on charges of alleged terrorism. As a result of these arrests, many in the international community complained about the lack of proper judicial process in the incarceration of Erdogan's opposition. In April 2017, Erdogan successfully sponsored legislation effectively making it illegal for the Turkish legislative branch to investigate his executive branch of government. Without the checks and balances of freedom of speech and the freedom of the Turkish legislature to hold him accountable for his actions, many have likened Turkey's current form of government to a dictatorship with only nominal forms of democracy in practice. At the time of Erdogan's successful passing of the most recent legislation silencing his opposition, United States President Donald Trump called Erdogan to congratulate him for his recent referendum victory. On the 29th of April 2017, Erdogan's administration began an internal internet block of all of the Wikipedia online encyclopedia site via Turkey's domestic internet filtering system. This blocking action took place after the government had first made a request for Wikipedia to remove what it referred to as offensive content. In response, Wikipedia co-founder Jimmy Wales replied via a post on Twitter stating, "Access to information is a fundamental human right. Turkish people, I will always stand with you and fight for this right." In January 2016, more than 1,000 academics signed a petition criticizing Turkey's military crackdown on ethnic Kurdish towns and neighborhoods in the east of the country, such as Sur, Silvan, Nusaybin, Cizre, and Silopi, and asking an end to violence. Erdogan accused those who signed the petition of terrorist propaganda, calling them the darkest of people. He called for action by institutions and universities, stating, "Everyone who benefits from this state but is now an enemy of the state must be punished without further delay." Within days, over 30 of the signatories were arrested, many in dawn-time raids on their homes. Although all were quickly released, nearly half were fired from their jobs, eliciting a denunciation from Turkey's Science Academy for such wrong and disturbing treatment. Erdogan vowed that the academics would pay the price for falling into a pit of treachery. On the 8th of July 2018, Erdogan sacked 18,000 officials for alleged ties to US-based cleric Fethullah Gulen, shortly before renewing his term as an executive president. Of those removed, 9,000 were police officers, with 5,000 from the armed forces, with the addition of hundreds of academics. In February 2016, Erdogan threatened to send the millions of refugees in Turkey to EU member states, saying, "We can open the doors to Greece and Bulgaria anytime, and we can put the refugees on buses. So how will you deal with refugees if you don't get a deal?" In an interview to the news magazine Der Spiegel, German Minister of Defense Ursula von der Leyen said on the 11th of March 2016 that the refugee crisis had made good cooperation between EU and Turkey an existentially important issue. Therefore, it is right to advance now negotiations on Turkey's EU accession. In its resolution, The Functioning of Democratic Institutions in Turkey from the 22nd of June 2016, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe warned that recent developments in Turkey pertaining to freedom of the media and of expression, erosion of the rule of law, and the human rights violations in relation to anti-terrorism security operations in southeast Turkey have raised serious questions about the functioning of its democratic institutions. In January 2017, Erdogan said that the withdrawal of Turkish troops from northern Cyprus is out of the question and Turkey will be in Cyprus forever. In September 2020, Erdogan declared his government's support for Azerbaijan following clashes between Armenian and Azeri forces over a disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh. He dismissed demands for a ceasefire. In May 2022, Erdogan voiced his opposition to Sweden and Finland joining NATO, accusing the two countries of tolerating groups which Turkey classifies as terrorist organizations, including the Kurdish militant groups PKK and YPG, and the supporters of Fethullah Gulen. Following a protest in Sweden where a Quran was burned, Erdogan reiterated that he would not support Sweden's bid to join NATO. There is a long-standing dispute between Turkey and Greece in the Aegean Sea. Erdogan warned that Greece will pay a heavy price if Turkey's gas exploration vessel, in what Turkey said are disputed waters, is attacked. He deemed the readmission of Greece into the military alliance NATO a mistake, claiming they were collaborating with terrorists. In March 2017, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan stated to the Turks in Europe, "Make not 3, but 5 children, because you are the future of Europe. That will be the best response to the injustices against you." This has been interpreted as an imperialist call for demographic warfare. According to The Economist, Erdogan is the first Turkish leader to take the Turkish diaspora seriously, which has created friction within these diaspora communities and between the Turkish government and several of its European counterparts. In February 2018, President Erdogan expressed Turkish support of the Republic of Macedonia's position during negotiations over the Macedonian naming dispute, saying that Greece's position is wrong. In March 2018, President Erdogan criticized the Kosovan Prime Minister Ramush Haradinaj for dismissing his interior minister and intelligence chief for failing to inform him of an unauthorized and illegal secret operation conducted by the National Intelligence Organization of Turkey on Kosovo's territory that led to the arrest of 6 people allegedly associated with the Gulen movement. On the 26th of November 2019, an earthquake struck the Durrës region of Albania. President Erdogan expressed his condolences, and citing close Albanian-Turkish relations, he committed Turkey to reconstructing 500 earthquake-destroyed homes and other civic structures in Lak, Albania. In Istanbul, Erdogan organized and attended a donors' conference to assist Albania that included Turkish businessmen, investors, and Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama. In May 2018, British Prime Minister Theresa May welcomed Erdogan to the United Kingdom for a 3-day state visit. Erdogan declared that the United Kingdom is an ally and a strategic partner, but also a real friend. The cooperation we have is well beyond any mechanism that we have established with other partners. Relations between Turkey and Israel began to normalize after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu officially apologized for the death of the 9 Turkish activists during the Gaza flotilla raid. However, in response to the 2014 Israel-Gaza conflict, Erdogan accused Israel of being more barbaric than Hitler and conducting state terrorism and a genocide attempt against the Palestinians. In December 2017, President Erdogan issued a warning to Donald Trump after the U.S. president acknowledged Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Erdogan stated, "Jerusalem is a red line for Muslims," indicating that naming Jerusalem as Israel's capital would alienate Palestinians and other Muslims from the city, undermining hopes at a future capital of a Palestinian state. Erdogan called Israel a terrorist state. Naftali Bennett dismissed the threats, claiming Erdogan does not miss an opportunity to attack Israel. In April 2019, Erdogan said the West Bank belongs to Palestinians, after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he would annex Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories if he is re-elected. Erdogan condemned the Israel-UAE peace agreement, stating that Turkey was considering suspending or cutting off diplomatic relations with the United Arab Emirates in retaliation. The relations shifted back to normality since 2021, when the two countries started improving relations. In March 2022, Israeli President Isaac Herzog visited Turkey, meeting Erdogan. The two countries agreed to restore diplomatic relations in August 2022. Diplomatic relations between Turkey and Syria significantly deteriorated due to the Syrian civil war. Initially, while tens of thousands of Syrian refugees already crossed the border to Turkey, Turkish officials tried to convince Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to make significant reforms to alleviate the conflict and calm down the protests. The last of such meetings happened on August 9, 2011, during a 7-hour meeting between Assad and Turkey's Ahmet Davutoglu, giving the latter the title of the last European leader who visited Assad. Turkey got involved in a violent conflict with Islamic State as part of the spillover of the Syrian civil war, is executed a series of attacks against Turkish soldiers and civilians. In an ISIS video, where 2 Turkish soldiers were burned alive, Turkish President Erdogan was verbally attacked by ISIS and threatened with the destruction of Turkey. Turkey joined the international military intervention against the Islamic State in 2015. The Turkish Armed Forces Operation Euphrates Shield was aimed at IS, and areas around Jarablus and al-Bab were conquered from IS. In January 2018, the Turkish military and its allies Syrian National Army and Sham Legion began Operation Olive Branch in Afrin in northern Syria against the Kurdish armed group YPG. In October 2019, the United States gave the go-ahead to the 2019 Turkish offensive into northeastern Syria, despite recently agreeing to a northern Syria buffer zone. U.S. troops in northern Syria were withdrawn from the border to avoid interference with the Turkish operation. After the U.S. pullout, Turkey proceeded to attack the autonomous administration of North and East Syria. Rejecting criticism of the invasion, Erdogan claimed that NATO and European Union countries sided with terrorists, and all of them attacked us. Erdogan then filed a criminal complaint against French magazine Le Point after it accused him of conducting ethnic cleansing in the area. A poll by Metropole Research found that 79% of Turkish respondents expressed support for the operation. Bilateral trade between Turkey and China increased from $1 billion a year in 2002 to $27 billion annually in 2017. Erdogan has stated that Turkey might consider joining the Shanghai Cooperation Organization instead of the European Union. In 2009, Erdogan accused China of genocide against the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, but later changed his rhetoric. In 2019, the Turkish Foreign Ministry issued a statement condemning what it described as China's reintroduction of concentration camps in the 21st century and a great cause of shame for humanity. Soon, we will publish Part 5. Thank you for watching.
Göründüğü gibi olan gücünü milletten alan Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Göründüğü gibi olan gücünü milletten alan Recep Tayyip Erdogan.